Absolutely.
I understand, you know, the reasons to be disappointed with the last election cycle, maybe better than the rest of it. However, on energy, we've really done a good job in Nevada. We have a RPS that's top flight. We have an incentive program that is top flight, and Democrats and Republicans have done that together. Now, we had a governor that didn't really advocate for it, and there were
drag his heels.
Yeah, there were laws that were passed that didn't bear fruit as quickly as they could have, because it took a while to get the regulations promulgated and move on down the road. But all that's happened. So even if the legislature focuses on the budget, it might be a good thing if the legislature focuses on the budgets and redistricting. There are billions of dollars of projects in Nevada that have been, you know, some have been permitted already, others are in the process. And if we make this not a theoretical debate about the existence of global warming, but if we make it about jobs, and this is a quick way to get people back to work, and if we utilize the existing structure to do that, I think we can see real success.
Did you want to speak to the budget issue in Carson City at all, and relative to the NCL's work coming up in the legislature, before we take questions from the floor?
Certainly. Obviously, you know, for anybody that pays any kind of attention to what's going on, we are in a significant budget crisis in this state, and when the legislature meets and begins to review whatever budget the new Governor Sandoval puts together, there's going to be some tough choices, and it's certainly going to take most of the time and energy of the legislature to really put together a budget that might actually be able to keep our state functioning for the next 2 years. I mean, that's how large of a shortfall we're looking at. In terms of how it might directly affect some of the priorities that we're looking at, I mean, certainly I think that there's something to be said for the fact that because there are such big issues in the room, like the budget, like the redistricting, it's possible that issues like clean energy could get pushed to the sideline. I don't think that that's all that likely. I think that there's still plenty of people that will be able to work on these issues, but it is something to keep in mind. And it is also something to keep in mind that we need to make sure that the advocacy community is to some degree on the same page as we go into the legislative session, so that we're not worrying about that at the same time. As far as actual budget items, for the most part, energy things aren't really as general fund dependent as some of the other programs in the state. We get a lot of federal money that funds some of our energy work, and a lot of our energy work is funded through the ratepayers. So that's not as big of a concern, but it is still a concern. There is some general fund that goes in there, and then that's not even getting into the other environmental priorities that our organization works on that aren't necessarily energy related, but there are things where we're going to be needing to look at keeping what we have, or trying to, you know, weather the storm of the budget that we're looking at.
But the thing, it's very much easier to build a building that is energy efficient than it is to retrofit an existing building. And that's where the huge problem is. The amount of money it takes to take a house that was built 20 years ago and bring it up to green energy standards is probably 30% of the current cost of the house. And I don't know how you solve that problem, but I think that if you educate people about new buildings, that's one thing. What can they do that will make them money or save them money in the short run? That's the issue.
Well, you're right in the sense that to take an existing building and then turn it into Vegas PBS is going to be very hard to do. That being said, there are great opportunities to take existing buildings and make smaller improvements that are going to have big impacts on their electricity bills, and going to have big impacts that are going to reduce their energy usage. And certainly it's not going to be at, you know, at some of the levels that you might see, but there's a lot of very cost effective, cheap ways that you can dramatically change the performance of a building. I've seen, there's a couple of, I saw you out in the audience, some building performance professionals in the audience here that, you know, they do this for a living. This is actually a, you know, this is a business that model that works and you can get improvements in residential as well as commercial. And the other advantage of that, bringing it back to, the most important issue that all of us are facing, is improving the efficiency of existing buildings. That's jobs. That's where, there's a lot of jobs that are available in doing that. It's a lot of opportunity to put some of the people in this valley back to work that previously have been working on building brand new homes. Now we can work to make the homes that we have more efficient and reduce our energy use, as a community.
Questions?
All the way in the back. Oh.
I'm not running for anything, so let me tell you something that I think, the fundamental problem is that our utility is incentivized inappropriately. The more energy they sell, the more money they make. And I'm not accusing them of anything. That's the way the system is. And there are exceptions because well-meaning people, including the utility, has worked to develop these programs to change that. But I think we need to understand the fundamental problem and then work towards changing that. If we decouple that company's market incentive, profit incentive from reality, we'll be better off. And I'm not saying they shouldn't make money for their shareholders. I just think that we need a new model so that we can all share in the benefit that would result from things like PBS did here. It makes sense from an economic point of view to be more efficient. We just have a utility that doesn't.
Well, doesn't make sense for.
Well, it doesn't follow that program. They're on another. And the more efficiency there is, the less money they make. Until we address that fundamental problem, we'll never have the efficiency projects that we could.
I have a question.
I want to thank Vegas PBS for being such a great host today. And I want to thank Kaylin Schroeder and Lauren Boytel for helping us put this event together today. I also want to thank our Executive Director, Scott Rutledge, for putting this together for everyone today. And thank all of you for coming. We really appreciate that. And look, please keep an eye out for our emails where we direct you back to Rebuild Nevada. We try to keep that current as the legislative session comes into play. Kyle will be communicating to you through MV Green Vote, so we stay in touch that way. There probably will be some calls to action. Please help us spread the word to your network. I think that's the most important thing we can do, is when we reach out to all of you, if you could pass that along to people you know. And lastly, I want to thank Commissioner Rory Reed and Rose McKinney James of Energy Works and Kyle Davis, NCL Political Director. Thank you. Good night, everybody.